Okay, when that final scene of the episode happened and you see the giant room of where Kagari was for the past like 12 years, that was pretty eerie, like jarring honestly. Like that sent chills up my spine when I just saw the way it looked and how Okabe's face was just had a big close up and you just see how he's freaking out. It's just like, "Oh my god, this girl has been through a lot." Okay, so I think I should probably get into that final segment, because that's probably the most important scene of the episode, because the entire episode effectively builds up to that moment. And I think it is very vital to what could potentially happen in the upcoming episode. So to get right into it, Kagari. It is officially revealed that she was being brainwashed. Now, this entire concept was very apparent. Like, I think everybody could have caught on that Kagari was under some effect of brainwashing just because of how she acted towards Suzu a couple episodes back to, how the beginning of the episode was before, Mr. Braun even mentioned it. It was very apparent that she was being brainwashed in some way, either a secret agent or brainwashing. And it does turn out that it was brainwashing, and we get to see exactly kind of how it was done, which is just jarring. And we also get an understanding of how it was done and how Mayuri kind of went unaware and didn't even know what was going on to Kagari the entire time. So let's talk about that. At the end of the episode, you see in the future, future Mayuri, she's taking care of Kagari. Obviously, as we know, she is like a mother figure to Kagari, and obviously she wants to make sure she's okay, she's healthy, and everything is fine. And Mayuri, most likely, she wants what's best for her, and obviously a doctor coming up and all that's like, hey, I can help her out and all that, get over her PTSD. Obviously Mayuri's going to want to do something like this. She's wanting to help out Kagari. And so this doctor's like, okay, we're going to do our medical checkups and all that, help her out, and that's what happens. And in turn, what this doctor really is doing, he's indoctrinating Kagari. He is brainwashing her to the point to where he can just, make her like either a soldier, a puppet, whatever. We don't really know exactly what Kagari's purpose is. We did get a glimpse of what she could be potentially being used for. For instance, we see AI Kurisu's name pop up on a sheet of paper, which implies about what I was talking about a couple episode reviews back, saying maybe Kagari, she might be used as some form of like vessel for AI Kurisu. For instance, they could try to implant AI Kurisu's actual brain or processing power into Kagari to make it to where, AI Kurisu actually has a body, which would make sense. They look very similar, and, brainwashing, it might make it to where they could potentially do something like that. And that's what I'm assuming is going on. I could be wrong there, but I feel like the way we saw the name pop up, and then we see how there's a connection with, with AI Kurisu and now Kagari, and how they look very similar, I feel like most likely they're trying to implant her within Kagari, but I could be wrong there. But okay, getting into the main point though, let's talk about that professor, the doctor that is manipulating Kagari. Now, I cannot be the only one that noticed that the professor looked very much like the doctor, that the English doctor a couple episodes ago, or what we met since the very beginning of the series. The one that called, Okabe Mr. Einstein, him. I think his name is Mr. Leskin, or however you pronounce his name. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing his name. But basically, it's very apparent that the doctor looks very much like him. Now, the voice is different, I admit that. That's what threw me off. Like, the voice does sound very different. But there is a possibility if the doctor is, doing this type of crusty stuff, he could easily be faking. For instance, he could be acting like a foreigner that doesn't properly comprehend Japanese or can't speak proper Japanese. That is a possibility, and so the reason why the voice might sound very different compared to, how he normally acts in present timeline with Okabe and all that, is because he's just putting on a mask, he's faking. And then when he actually is getting serious, he changed his voice, which would explain why Mayuri trusts him, why Mayuri actually hangs out with him and allows Kagari to go through operations and, treatments through this man, is because, he's someone that's been around for a while, around Okabe, he's been there with parties. It would make a lot of sense. I mean, when you look at the track record of the doctor, if he really is the one that was messing with Kagari in the future, it would make sense why Mayuri would leave Kagari with him. Because, like I said, parties. He was always there. He had a couple parties with them. He was interacting for a long time before, World War III. So it would make sense. It all does fall into place that dude could potentially be the person messing with Kagari. The question is, though, for what purpose? And also, what are they doing now with her? I mean, it's very apparent that they were brainwashing her for a very long time. In the future, but also in the present day. For instance, for like 1 full year or 12 years, it seems like they were trying to indoctrinate Kagari to the point to where she could just flip back and forth. For instance, if a song is played, like Fun or whatever, I forget the exact title, the name, it was actually stated in this episode, but when the song plays, Kagari snaps. We saw that. It's very clear that when the song is played, she goes into like doll or robot mode or soldier mode. We don't really know exactly what mode she goes into, but she goes into a certain set mode that's because of the result of brainwashing, and it's because of this song. It's the trigger. And the thing about that is I feel like the way she's going to get out of that, like the trigger, is probably through the song that was introduced 2 episodes back. You remember when we found out that Kagari, she was the origin of a song that, was passed down through everybody, and then eventually taught to Okabe taught to his mother, the mother taught to Yuki, and then Yuki, so forth. We get the point of that. Basically, I feel like that song that was, mentioned a couple episodes back is probably going to be the trigger to release Kagari from this brainwashing. For instance, you have the song that plays, she goes into soldier mode, then that song will play again. For instance, Mayuri's song that she was singing to Kagari at a young age, which will cause her to snap back into reality, which might be the reason why she acted like she did. Maybe she heard that song once again from someone on the street, and when she snapped back into reality, and she was her normal Kagari self. I feel like something like that could be the case. But here's the question, though. Why did they let her go? Why did they let her do whatever she wanted? For instance, it's obvious that they were doing some heinous stuff with Kagari. They were brainwashing her for a long time, and then for the past year, they kind of went silent. So, why? For instance, why did they stop? Was the entire brainwashing operation, was it successful? Did it fail? Do they not need it anymore because they got what they wanted? I'm very curious about that. I mean, with the whole effects of brainwashing, it looks to me like they might have been trying to gain information out of Kagari. But at the same time, she was so young that she wouldn't know everything. So the question is, why? Did they want to turn her into a perfect spy to watch over Okabe's group and all that? I mean, there's so many questions I have because of the way this episode was done, but it was a phenomenal episode nonetheless, just because of how the story handled it. I mean, I'm very curious now where Kagari's character is going to go, and just also it puts into light, what is the Doctor actually doing now? I mean, we know that he's been rather shady in recent episodes, so yeah. Anyways, let's talk about Moeka for a second. I know I mentioned it a couple episodes back, but I want to take a few moments to mention it once again. I really love how Moeka is a central piece to the story in Steins Gate Zero, because, as I've already said, she was an important character in OG Steins Gate, but she didn't get a lot of time to shine. She was always that antagonist, that villain character, and didn't really have a lot of spotlight. When we found out really about her, we were like, holy crap, and that was pretty much it. We didn't really get to know anything else about her, besides her just being a little bit crazy and needing FB. That's all we really knew. And now seeing her working with Okabe throughout this episode, like searching and stuff, we get to see how her expertise, her skill set, is being used for our side now. Like, for instance, when Okabe and her are traveling through the mountainside and all that to get to wherever, Kagari was being brainwashed at, you see how she wasn't tired at all. Even though she was wearing, like, her very extravagant clothing and all that, and obviously, normally people would not be able to walk and stuff like she's walking in, like hills and stuff, she was able to do it just fine, like it was nothing, which showcases just how skilled she was. I mean, even her driving skills, which was very scary, by the way, like, holy crap, her driving. I feel so bad for Okabe in this episode. And it's like, slow down, like, it's dangerous, like, slow down. It's like, I'll go faster for when you can get over this, for it won't be as dangerous anymore. I'm just like, oh my god, like, when you think about that, she technically was the one that hit, Mayuri, and so you're like, now I see how hard she must have hit Mayuri because of how fast she was going in this episode. Holy crap, like, her driving skills is impeccable. Okay, dark jokes aside, pretty much Moeka, she's gotten a really good spotlight in this episode and these recent episodes, and I just really like that. I like her character. I'm glad to see a different side to her besides her just being a villain, and seeing how her skills are actually being used to help out our characters, and that Okabe is starting to warm up to her, you know, even going along with her to make sure that they discover things, because she's a very, she's someone you can rely on, because if you need a job done, she will definitely get a job done. I mean, look what she did in Steins Gate. So, that is what I think Okabe is really enjoying right now about her, is that if he needs something done, and if he needs something to be looked into, she'll definitely get it done and do it in a proper way. I also especially like how Mr. Braun, how his role is in this series, because in the original Steins Gate, even though he became very important, like we heard about this FB and how important he was and all that throughout, you know, the story, we never really got to see Mr. Braun have the spotlight. It's very similar to how I was talking about Moeka, how we knew about her, we knew, like, her role in the series and what she kind of was, but we didn't really get to see a whole lot of her, understand her, and it's also very nice to see Mr. Braun in a different spotlight. You know, his skills of working with CERN and all that, being, you know, around her, you know, actually helping out Okabe. How Okabe was seeking information, like, you know, oh, you know, what's going on here? Why did she forget things and all? What's going on with her amnesia? And he's like, most likely it's the result of brainwashing. And I just like Mr. Braun's role in this story right now. He's like this old man character that obviously knows a whole lot. He wants to kind of stay out of it, but at the same time, he knows so much. He knows that he cannot avoid working with Okabe and helping him out. And I like how their relationship now, they're point blank, they're just telling each other the truth. They're not even lying to each other anymore, which I just like that relationship, because Mr. Braun was always someone in the OG Steins Gate that just seemed, you know, like he seemed like a kind of a jerk landlord, but at the same time, he was a good guy. But now seeing how he treats Okabe and how he treats him with, like, respect, but also he has this very stern attitude to where at any moment, if you probably cross this man, he'll end you like that. I like that personality. I just like Mr. Braun as a character. So, these little scenes throughout this episode to build up to what happened to Kagari, it makes me really appreciate Steins Gate Zero, and I'm glad we got like a continuation to the story. It makes me very happy. So anyways, I think I covered about everything I need to cover. I guess the little stuff with Kagari is the only thing I need to really talk about. For instance, Kagari, when it comes to Mayuri and the whole Yuri situation, which, oh my god, like, the episode opens up and you see Kagari's like, mama, and, like, eat a banana and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, like, this is some Yuri stuff going on here, like, oh my god. And just, like, you can see Mayuri was very, she was very embarrassed. She didn't really know how to act. But at the same time as the episode went on, you could see that she grew closer and closer to Kagari and tried to be more of a mother figure, especially with the party. I especially like that party scene, to where Mayuri's always been this character to throw parties for people, to make everybody happy, and nobody typically knows what's going on when a party is thrown. But Kagari, being someone that was kind of like the daughter of Mayuri for a long time, knowing when Mayuri's gonna throw a party, it wouldn't make sense why she would know this. She's like, oh, you're gonna throw a party and all that. And you just to see Mayuri's shocked face of someone actually catching her for what she's trying to do, it was just really amazing seeing her reaction. She's like, no, it's a secret and all that. That entire scene was super adorable, because it showed that Kagari really has a good understanding of how Mayuri is, and I think that's in that moment when Mayuri truly knew that Kagari was someone that was her daughter, someone that, you know, looked up to her like a mother figure. And you notice throughout the episode after that scene, she started calling Kagari-san and Kagari-chan. She started going with it, and it felt more natural. And I feel like it's because of that scene, with her realizing that normally people don't realize that Mayuri's gonna do that, and, you know, she was able to catch on to that. That's something I really like as well. So, yeah, I think, you know, overall, the series has a lot of good things going on, for a lot of good setup with Kagari right now, and I can't wait to see where the story's going to go after this point. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this week's episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below, and with that, Chibi out.